Hey Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Yasodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari Yasodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivraja Vijaya Ashtata Sadishla A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Ananta Kota Vaishnavinda Ki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Ganga Maya Ki Yamuna Maya Ki Tulasi Deva Ki Bhakti Deva Ki Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Lord Chaitanya's Harinam Sankirtan Ki Brihat Mridanga Ki Srila Prabhupada Ki Sri Sri Danitai Gaurhari Ki Jai Sri Nitai Sundago Nataraj Ki Jai Go Premanandi. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glorious to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We heard this morning today is the second anniversary of the departure of His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know how many of you met or have any idea about Kadamba Kanana Maharaj? Did anyone here have his association? You saw him. You saw him.
He was the temple president, Krishna Balaram Mandir, when I was taking Vraja.
Ah, okay.
Not yet sannyas, Maharaj.
Yeah. Yeah, he was temple president in Vrindavan for a fair period of time, many years. Anyway, maybe we'll speak a little bit about it. This. I believe this table comes up. I think it does. I don't know. That's bad. So to begin, we'll start with what is normally you read from Bhagavad Gita. Is that correct? Any special verse? Every verse is special. I opened the book, this Bhagavad Gita, on a certain page, so we'll read from there. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupagadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpataruyascha Kripasindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Vacharine Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Pastachade Shatarni. So if you want to follow us, you're most welcome. This is on the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, text number 11. Now, this is a very significant verse. All verses are significant, but in of itself it's very significant. 10:11. It's the fourth of the... Sometimes we hear this, that there are 4 verses in this chapter which are known as the Chatur Shloka, or the seed verses, 4 special verses of the Bhagavad Gita. This is the 4th of them. And you're probably familiar with the other ones, but you may not be able to remember them. I'll just read the translation, starting from text number 8. Krishna says, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. And in today's verse, I don't know if it's on the screen, is it?
Yes.
10:11. Please repeat. Desyam Eva Anukampa Artam Aham Angyanajam Tamaha Nashayami Atmabhava Staha Jnana Dipena Bhasvata Teshamevanukampatam Aham Ajnanajam Tamaha Nashayami Atmabhavasto Jnanadipena Bhasvata Teshamevanukampatam Aham Ajnanajam Tamaha Nashayami Atmabhavasto Jnanadipena Bhasvata Teshamevanukampatam Aham Ajnanajam Tamaha Nashayami Atmabhavasto Jnanadipena Bhasvata Teshamivānukampatam aham jnana-jam tamaha nashayam yatma bhavasto jnana-dipena bhasvata.
Tesham evanukampatam aham ajnana-jam tamaha nasayam yatma bhavasto jnana-dipena bhasvata.
Tesham evanukampatam aham ajnana-jam tamaha
Ladies.
Teshamivānukampatam
aham ajnana-jam tamaha nasayam yatma bhavasto jnana-dipena bhasvata. Teshamivānukampatam aham jnana-jam tamaha nashayam yatma bhavasto jnana-dipena bhasvata. Tesham, for them, eva, certainly, anukampa artam, to show special mercy. Aham, I, ajnanajam, due to ignorance. Tamaha, darkness. Nashayami, dispel. Atmabhava, within their hearts. Staha, situated. Jnana, of knowledge. Dipena, with the lamp. Bhasvata, glowing. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with a shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When Lord Chaitanya was in Benares, promulgating the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thousands of people were following him. Prakashananda Saraswati, a very influential and learned scholar in Benares at that time, derided Lord Chaitanya for being a sentimentalist. Sometimes Mayavad philosophers criticize the devotees because they think that most of the devotees are in the darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive sentimentalists. Actually, that is not the fact. There are very, very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion. But even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literature or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within his heart. So the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. The Mayavad philosophers think that without discriminating, one cannot have pure knowledge. For them this answer is given by the Supreme Lord. Those who are engaged in pure devotional service, even though they be without sufficient education, and even without sufficient knowledge of the Vedic principles, are still helped by the Supreme God, as stated in this verse. The Lord tells Arjuna that basically there is no possibility of understanding the supreme truth, the absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead, simply by speculating. For the supreme truth is so great that it is not possible to understand him or to achieve him simply by making a mental effort. Man can go on speculating for several millions of years, and if he is not devoted, if he is not a lover of the supreme truth, he will never understand Krishna or the supreme truth. Only by devotional service is the supreme truth, Krishna, pleased, and by his inconceivable energy he can reveal himself to the heart of the pure devotee. The pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart, and with the presence of Krishna, who is just like the sun, the darkness of ignorance is at once dissipated. This is the special mercy rendered to the pure devotee by Krishna. Due to the contamination of material association through many, many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism. But when one engages in devotional service and constantly chants, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Is that speculation? It doesn't say that on the board. It only says chant Hare Krishna. The dust quickly clears, and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal, Vishnu, can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Let's read that again. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. By studying Bhagavad Gita, one can become a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. End of purport. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with a shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Hare Krishna. So, what do you ascertain from this purport? What specific points stand out in your heart?
Krishna is reciprocated.
Okay, the reciprocation of Krishna with his devotees, specifically his pure devotees. Anything else?
Question.
Pardon?
Question.
Question.
Question?
You have a question?
Yeah.
Anything stick out in your heart? Oh, say a question sticks out. Yeah. Okay. According to this, Krishna would destroy your doubts with a shining lamp of knowledge for those who are constantly devoted to him and serving him with love. But anyway, ask the question, it's in your heart.
It says there that to show mercy and dwelling in their hearts about the knowledge. My question is like, I heard like there's lots of Bhagavat, professional Bhagavat reciter.
Especially in the Philippines.
And like for like ignorant people like me, I was asking. We honestly we don't have anything knowledge about Vedic or about Krishna, and then like because my question is how those Bhagavat reciter they are saying in the scripture that it's not yet been purified. Like,
How is it that they're not purified?
yeah, like they're saying they're doing it for business like this, and then like the devotee, the people who are not born as a devotee or not just practicing in the beginning and then still like taking up devotional service. So how is it like that?
Okay, well, I'm not going to approach that question right now. We'll keep it on hold. Is it related directly to today's verse?
Yeah.
It is? How?
Because the previous verse gives the answer.
Huh?
The previous verse to this one, which you just said, because they're constantly devoted to serving me with love, then I give...
You're very perceptive. Yeah, that's definitely... I don't know if that's what you were thinking.
So Krishna won't give
Yeah, okay, good, you got it. Okay, so we'll put that... And what else stands out in your hearts here on this purport or verse? Shambhi Hari?
If you're not a devotee, like you can, it'll take you millions of years to understand the Supreme.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's definitely there in terms of what does Krishna say, how you understand him. Any other points in this purport?
Marriage, a pure devotee should not be anxious of their material necessities.
Yeah, this is part of the essence, Prabhupada said. This is the essence, huh? The essence of the Bhagavad Gita. How a devotee is always depending on the Lord. We can just quickly read that sentence because it does say, this is the essence. The pure devotee does not have to worry about material necessities of life. He need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. Because you can say, well, that's a pure devotee. It is a pure devotee, obviously. We have anxiety, we may be still depending on material things or desiring material things. There's another verse in the Bhagavad Gita, isn't there, which is quite famous verse. I think it's in the 9th chapter, I may be wrong. Yesham Tvanta, come on. Jananam Punya Karmanam. Can you find that verse? Yesham Tvantagatam Papam. I think it's in the 9th chapter. I may be wrong, maybe 7th or 9th, I can't remember. Yesham Tvantagatam Papam. Try to find it. You have a search mode.
Yesham.
Yesham Twantam. I mean, you can look it up in the back. I'll tell you one good thing. If you go to the back of the Bhagavad Gita, there's a index. And there's an index of the verses quoted. Sanskrit verses. Here we go. What is it? ZYXWC. 713 is it?
748.
Yeah, I'm getting different feedback here. There's lots of years. Yesham
It's in the
20.
Bhagavad Gita for sure.
728. 728. There you go. You read it. Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanva mohanir mukta bhajanti mam vidavataha. It's famous, very famous verse. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. That's the nature, becoming purified. And there's another verse in the 9th chapter. If we go back, it may be around 9:22, I think. Let's have a look. There it is, 9:22. Famous verse. 9:22. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. For those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack, I preserve what they have. Now, putting those two together for the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, we could say, from the purport here, where Prabhupada says that this, depending on Krishna, pure devotee, doesn't have to worry about anything in this material world. No anxiety. We see right from the very beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is giving the clue how we can become free of anxiety. How we can become sinless. How we can depend upon Him. We're not here to adjust His energy exactly. Because the energies which we see around us are an expansion of Krishna. There is His energy, as we've just heard. Everything emanates from Him. It's coming from Krishna. Our business is not primarily to try to adjust Krishna's energies. Of course, we're always endeavoring to do that in one sense. But a pure devotee of the Lord is not. He may do, you could say, endeavor in that regard for the sake of others. But in his heart of hearts, there's no real need for any adjustment. The only adjustment we have to make in our lives is an adjustment of our perception. To see how everything is related to Krishna. To become a pure devotee of the Lord, who has no anxiety for anything in this world, who's not dependent on anything in this world. This is a pure devotee. We may not be on that platform. But such a pure devotee, we could say that simultaneously, as we progress towards that platform, that the darkness of ignorance is removed. As this verse says. He removes that darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of knowledge. What is that knowledge? And Prabhupada talks about knowledge a little bit here also. Particularly the knowledge which attracts Krishna's attention. Throughout the whole of the Bhagavad Gita, practically again and again this point comes up of only through devotional service. Who can think of a verse where Krishna says, you can understand me only through devotional service?
18.
Bhakti-mam, 1855, I think, isn't it? Let's have a look. Have a look and see. 1855. Memory is still something left. Some memory is still there. Krishna is still giving some memory. Bhaktyamam abhijanati Yavanyaschasmi tatvatah Tatomam tatvato gyatva Vishate tadanantaram. It may well be on the board, I don't know. Is it on the board?
Yes.
Yeah, easy to follow. One can understand me as I am, only as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Only through pure devotional service. Ananya, pure devotion, unalloyed devotional service, Ananya Bhakti. No other means. So, professional reciters are not considered pure devotees. This is again and again emphasized throughout the scriptures. They may be impressive, they may have learning, but they're not impressing Krishna. It's the devotion, as we heard in the previous verse, Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam. It's with devotion that Krishna likes. Or Patram Pashpam Palam Toyam Yome Bhakti Prayachiti. Who knows that verse? Who knows that verse?
Yeah.
What's the next line?
Bhakti Mama Janata. What's it? Patram Pushpam Palantayam Yome Bhakta Prayachiti Tadaham Bhakti Paradam Asnami Prayatatmana.
Yeah. And where is that verse?
It's in Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, very good. You must be a learned pandit. It's just, what verse number is it? 25 or something of the 9th chapter? No, not 25. What number? Here it is, 26. One out. 926. Patram pushpam palam toyam tadaham bhakti paritam
Tadaham Bhakti Paradam.
prasadam. Is that what you said? Prasadam prayatatmana.
Sorry.
Ashnami prayatatmana. If one offers me with love and devotion, what? A leaf, a flower, a fruit or water, I will accept it. It's a love and devotion. Krishna accepts the love and devotion. We won't get into the details of the verse, but he accepts love and devotion. This is what pleases Krishna. What is love and devotion? If we want to see Krishna, if we want our hearts to become purified of ignorance, if we want to become freed of anxiety, if we want to depend upon Krishna and not upon material objects, if we want to not be misled by professional speakers whose motivation is not to please Krishna, what is devotional service? This will answer your question also, Navadvip, if we look at it carefully. What is devotional service? That's the definition of it. So give it in simple terminology. What does it really mean?
To give pleasure to Krishna's senses.
Giving pleasure to Krishna's senses. Krishnendriya. And material world, everyone's Atmendriya. Everyone's trying to satisfy their own senses, right? The professional reciters are trying to satisfy their own senses. We may have that, let's say, mixture of motivations at this point of time. We certainly are trying to satisfy our senses. At the same time, we're being engaged by a pure devotee to satisfy Krishna's senses. You can listen to a professional reciter for as long as you want, but it will not evoke love of God because they don't have it. You can't give something you don't have. Of course, if one is actually sincere, Krishna will guide you in another way. He'll guide one in a different direction. You won't continue. You'll come in contact with the actual devotee of the Lord if you're sincere. Krishna is in the heart. What is he doing in the heart? Another verse we can go to in the 18th chapter. What does Krishna say? 18 must be 62, I guess. What does he say? Yeah, you got it spot on. But it's not 1862.
65.
65? I don't know about that.
65 or 66. Or 56.
56 maybe. 56, yes, in the 18th chapter. I thought it was 62, but it's not.
It's 56 maybe. No.
Does it go? I'm trying to remember my Bhagavad Gita. Am I on the right chapter here? Yes, I am. Here it is, 61. I was one out.
Which one is it?
61. I was one out, 61. Ishvara savabhutanam vedeshajurna tishtati brahmayan savabhutani yantra rudani mayaya. What did he say? The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated on a machine made of the material energy. He's directing our wanderings. It's not that Krishna's completely independent, but he's not acting whimsically here. He's not just sending one here and sending one there, putting one this place and one in that place. One person's born in, horrible situation materially, another's born in opulence, another one's born in a particular religious family who happen to be the only hope that you've got of going back to Godhead. If not born in that family, hard luck. It's not like that. Krishna is reciprocating with of course his karma also, but the inner intention of the living entity. Every single living entity has free will. In the human form of life, there's a facility for expression of that free will. And the Lord is guiding us accordingly, giving us various opportunities. And according to our relationship with Krishna, the degree of our favorable, unfavorable relationship towards him, then one will be guided in different directions. If one wants to be cheated, then Krishna guides you to a cheat. Of course, if one's sincere, you may go through those stages. You realize that this is not the true path. Many devotees came through very many different paths before they came to the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada towards Krishna consciousness. May have gone through many paths. And sometimes, I was just reading 2 days ago, one devotee, I've forgotten his name, one godbrother, he was a secretary to, what was his name, that from South Korea, that little chubby fellow?
Kim?
I don't know what his name was. Or was it? No, it was Maharishi. It wasn't him. It was a little Maharishi. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Famous yogi in the 60s, early 70s. Probably the most famous. And he had techniques of, freedom from anxiety and different things. Very popular, Westerners particularly. One of the followers who was the secretary of the Western California branch of the Transcendental Meditation Group, one time asked him, he said, he was asking about God. He said, I really would like to know about God. He doesn't really teach much about the personal aspect of God. And he actually told him, you have to go to Swami Bhaktivedanta. So he did, he left. And he became initiated by Prabhupada. Because no one else is teaching the actual nature of Godhead, pure nature of God. Repeating what Krishna is teaching in Bhagavad Gita. And even if you just say it, okay, just read it. If one's motivation, everything is about one's attitude. Prabhupada writes a lot about this. It's not exactly what we do, but the attitude in which we serve. That is what Krishna accepts. The attitude of the devotee. What is our motivation? What is our motivation? We have to ask ourselves on that. So pure love of God, Prabhupada infers or refers to the verse from the Brahma Samhita, Premanjana Chuita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksadai Pradayeshu Vilokayanti. Only those whose eyes are tinged with the salve of love. If one wants to actually see the Supreme Lord, one's eyes have to be tinged with the salve of love. It's the only way. Otherwise it's very, very difficult to understand. The other verse which Prabhupada is referring to there in the Brahma Samhita, how does it go? What's that verse?
Brahma Samhita?
Yeah. Huh?
Santasadaya Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Vashama Sundaram something Govindamani Purusham.
Yeah, I've not hit the nail on the head there. A bit of this and a bit of that.
What verse are you looking for?
It's very difficult. Very, very hard to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very, very difficult. Maybe that's the verse I just quoted. Premanjana Chuita Bhakti Vilochane Santaksadai Vivedeshu Vilokanante. What's the next line? Yeah, now that's the positive one. Then there's another one. How to understand the Supreme Lord is very, very, very difficult. What is that verse? I know it very well. Slipped the mind. Krishna's taken it away there. Maybe it will come in a minute. Let's see. So to understand Krishna is not an easy thing. That's for sure. Not an easy thing. As long as we're looking through our imperfect perception. Here Krishna says he takes away that ignorance. We're still looking through the modes of nature, trying to measure Krishna. Prabhupada talks about that here too. Krishna cannot be understood by speculation. It cannot be understood by material means. If we look in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, maybe, I don't know, text 54 maybe, I don't know. What is that verse? 11th chapter, maybe 54. Got you going now. Here we are.
Referring to out of the thousands of old ways.
11:54. Here it is. Bhaktya-tvananyaya shakya aham evang vidho Arjuna gyatum drashtum chatatvena paveshtung cha parantapa. Krishna says, my dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. Only this ananya bhakti, this undivided devotional service. This is our objective, to come to that point. There's a question in this verse. There's a very interesting line, which I thought you'd have noted, in this 10th chapter rather, where Prabhupada says here, but even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literatures, Prabhupada is talking here about those great scholars like Rupa Goswami and Jiva Goswami and others, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who have put forward literatures describing the science of devotion. Even if one doesn't take advantage of their literatures or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within his heart. What does Prabhupada mean there? Doesn't take advantage? of his spiritual master? I mean, obviously we're referring to that in a positive way, not in a mundane way. What does it mean? What do you think?
It could be illiterate.
He could be illiterate. That's a fact. There may be different angles of looking at it. Anything else? The Prabhupada tells the story, doesn't it? It's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, isn't it? Of when Lord Chaitanya was in South India and that illiterate Brahmin in Sri Ranga. How he was just looking at the verses, he couldn't read them. Spiritual master asked him to read the Gita daily, but he couldn't read. But he had so much faith in the order of his spiritual master, he was just looking at the verses and meditating on Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, taking the role of the servant of Arjuna. And he was crying. Lord Chaitanya asked him then, why are you crying if you can't read it? He said, and that's what he told him. And then Lord Chaitanya said, you may not be able to read the Gita, but you've understood every word of it. You understand the message of the Gita. Any other angles there? Anyone else?
Can we say, Marge, that devotees sometimes don't have time enough to read books?
Don't have time?
And very much engaged in preaching, so
Could be.
Krishna helps them?
Yeah, he's helping everyone, of course, we could say. But he could, and that's kind of one of those kind of not enough time to read type of questions. And it doesn't just mean, when we say take advantage of the spiritual master, if you're engaged fully in devotional service, surely you're taking advantage of the spiritual master, isn't it?
Here it's saying specifically literatures.
Well, it says here, but even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literatures or of his spiritual master.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't, it might be. It's a question which I've never raised, which I always, whenever I read this, I think about it. But it's a possibility, it's only a possibility, it's a speculation, you could say, that maybe there's a little bit more. One would have to see the original manuscript, whether that's exactly what it said. Well, I don't quite understand what it means, taking advantage of his spiritual master. The literature part's that's easy to understand, I think. But taking advantage of his spiritual master, what does that mean? You go against his will or go against his instruction?
Maybe the vapu of the spiritual master?
That's the point. It could be the vapu. That's a good point, because when the spiritual master comes sometimes, I don't know how you feel around here, but, devotees, generally speaking, kind of come around a bit more when the spiritual master's there. They try to show they put on a good show, and they try to behave themselves for a change, and things like that, And they try to clean the property up a little bit. Different things which result when the spiritual master comes into vapu form. But you get the example. We could give an example of, say, for instance, Jayananda Prabhu, famous disciple of Prabhupada. He wasn't so much personally up front. Most of us would like to be there sitting in front of Prabhupada, darshans, morning walks, classes, what have you. But Jayananda was always in the background, serving the will of his spiritual master. That's how we were trained, to a large extent, when we joined. It wasn't so much just the philosophy, but it was the mood. The mood. They were saying in English, what is it? You have to know the spirit of the law, not just the word of the law. The letter of the law, they say. The spirit. What will please the pure devotee? What will please Krishna? So he imbibed very, what can you say, life and soul. His life and soul was just to please Prabhupada and serve him. He would always be in the background cleaning the kitchen, whatever it was, doing various services,
Taking out the garbage.
taking out the garbage, fixing the vehicles. And oftentimes Prabhupada would come and say, "Where's Jayananda?" Call him. And he'd come in with his work clothes on into Prabhupada's room. He's been outside fixing a vehicle for Sankirtan or something. So that's a good point, that, the vapu. To get the actual vapu of the spiritual master or of Krishna, sometimes people, he's a famous, Prabhupada blessed him, and he's very blessed also, George Harrison, but he has a famous song, isn't it, "My Sweet Lord"? I really want to see you, Lord, but it takes so long. There's a process. It's not just about, that's good, that's a good sentiment, but there's a process of realizing we're not just sentimentalists. Prabhupada said we have to have philosophy also. The philosophy is there, and the philosophy is teaching us what to do. Or maybe a devotee is out on Sankirtan when the pure devotees. When Prabhupada would come, I'll give an example. Pragosh, book distributor Pragosh, not the GBC Pragosh, from America. He wanted to cook for Prabhupada one day. Full-time book distributor. So he really wanted to cook. So he cooked one day for Srila Prabhupada, and he brought the plate into Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, "Oh, what are you doing here?" Said, "Prabhupada, I cooked your lunch." Prabhupada said, "Anyone can cook my lunch, but not anyone can go out and preach." So the will of the spiritual master, which really attracts Krishna, is trying to fulfill that will. When Prabhupada would come to London, quite frequently, in fact, pretty much every year, sometimes twice a year, in fact. But after, not the first few years because we weren't really into it, but after some years, when book distribution became obvious that that's what, at that moment at least, was Prabhupada's great desire to see his books distributed widely. And we would make it sure that when Prabhupada was present, the book distribution would increase during his presence. And sometimes we see all the devotees, they just kind of like hang around. That wasn't the case when Prabhupada would come. He was teaching us this principle, you could say, ultimate principle, becoming eligible to understand and enter into the kingdom of God through service. And Prabhupada says here in the purport, through chanting Hare Krishna and through service. Not just chanting Hare Krishna, but also through service, rendering service. After all, we're chanting Hare Krishna, we're asking for service, we're not just chanting Hare Krishna. It is service, but we're simultaneously asking for service. And it's not what we want, it's what Krishna wants. Devotional service is really, in its essence, is that which pleases Krishna. Whether it pleases us or not, in the beginning, that is generally quite a strong consideration. In the bigger picture, it's what pleases Krishna. The pure devotees know what pleases Krishna. They know. This is, you could say in one sense, seeing Krishna, understanding his will, understanding his heart. What will bring him pleasure? Any other points or comments? Yes?
You mentioned about
Gokul.
attitude. Yeah, so what should be the proper attitude in terms of...
Interesting, huh? Attitude. The proper attitude. I wish we had it. Attitude, gratitude.
Latitude.
Yeah. I was thinking of that word, but it doesn't really fit the subject matter too much.
Bring you places.
Being in the right situation, maybe. Attitude. Well, we kind of touched, I would say as a generalization, we touched on it there. their attitude is to please the spiritual master's will, primarily. It's not just about, and it's related to this, I think, the sincere devotee that Krishna, even if they don't necessarily take advantage, let's say, the example could be there in a sense. Srila Prabhupada, and maybe not, but we'll try to relate it. But Srila Prabhupada would have written to his spiritual master, "My dear Guru Maharaj, you have many disciples. They're all performing so much service for you. They're very austere. And they're doing so much service. I'm just a grihasta, I'm involved in my family business and so on. I'm doing very little." And Prabhupada was asking, what can I do? And what is my hope, so to speak? And of course his spiritual master gave him instructions he wasn't able to fulfill at the time. But he made those instructions his life and soul. He took them as his life and soul. Here, of course, there's no question of insincerity. Prabhupada was a personification of sincerity. Making one's spiritual master's instructions one's life and soul. How we can assist him. Regarding Kadambakana Maharaj, for instance, most of you didn't have much association. I probably had much less than many also, but a fair bit. And we were very close in many ways. And his last words, as you may have heard, when he was lying on the bed, not many minutes before he left his body, he whispered something. And he whispered, his servant Vasudeva Prabhu, one of his servants, was right listening next to his mouth. And he said, above all, the mission. Above all, the mission. The mission, what is the mission? What is our mission? What is our purpose? Somebody said something. Excuse me. What did you say?
To spread Krishna consciousness.
Okay, there's an external mission, which is certainly the mission which we've inherited, to try to spread Krishna consciousness. And any other angle of that? Anything else related to that? The mission.
To go back home.
Go back home, back to Godhead. That's kind of like saying, what's the goal of the... What's the goal? To eat prasadam.
Right.
But, unless Gopurchandra's here, you won't eat anything. Or Bringara is here, you won't get anything to cook in the first place. Without the treasure, there'll be no money to buy the bhoga. And without somebody to serve it, it will not walk out of the kitchen. And if it's not offered, it's better you don't eat it. There are many things between where we are and where we want to go. Many things. Yes, so a mission. So what would be another angle besides spreading Krishna consciousness? And the ultimate, you could say, objective is, in a sense, go back to Godhead. Prabhupada would use that quite often for various reasons. But what does it really mean?
Save the fallen conditions.
Well, that's the external process.
To develop our love for God.
Yeah, to develop that love, isn't it? To develop it. You have to develop that love. It's there already. It's there already. Just like if you take a film, nowadays you have on your mobiles, it's digital or whatever you call it. But previously it was on a film reel. And you take the picture, it doesn't look, you can't even look at it. It won't be there anymore. We're not able to look at it until it's actually developed. It's there. in a, you could say, unmanifested form, it has to be developed into in a certain circumstance, certain conditions. So we have to develop our love for Krishna. The mission is internal also, not just external. They go together. As this verse says, to those who are constantly devoted to worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. And that this let's say, principle comes up again and again in the Shastras. By dedicating ourselves, Sushushoshudadanasya. Just one lifetime. Dedicate. We're willing, perhaps forever, but at least one lifetime. Sushushoshudadanasya Vasudeva Katamashi. To dedicate ourselves to the service of the pure devotees of the Lord. To assist them in their mission. And the result of that, dedication, because they have something we don't have. They have love of God that automatically includes a strong taste to hear about God or Krishna. Satatam. They're always chanting His glories. Shringatam Satata Sakata Krishna. Punya Shravana Kirtana. When one develops that taste by association of those who have it, through association and mission, to purify our hearts. It's difficult to spread something we don't have. And we can see this, that we have our own opportunity to purify our hearts. And by serving the pure devotees, if the motivation, if the attitude is to assist them, and not in a negative sense of take advantage of the pure devotees, but rather understand, Prabhupada said clearly himself, that the devotee has to, in the absence of the spiritual master, that's what really counts in one sense. In the absence of the spiritual master, the devotee should find out, just like Prabhupada did, what was the desire of his spiritual master, and make that one's life and soul, and how to enact, how to put that into practice in one's life. That attitude or that mood. Not that I'm great, not that I'm qualified, not that I can do it my way, not that I can impress people with my performance, but meditating, how can I serve my spiritual master? How I can please my spiritual master? This is Prabhupada said, the only real question we need to ask. How we can do that. We may not be able to right now, Prabhupada taught that. But they make that one's life and soul and try to find out how to fulfill that, how to work towards that. Then the Lord is very pleased. And He removes those abundance, those unwanted things from the heart. Or as this verse says, removes with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. He gives the guidance when we dedicate ourselves to the spiritual master or to His will. And then that's when we're dedicated ourselves, then He removes the darkness from our hearts. So the heart becomes pure. And then that seed of love of Godhead manifests or grows fully when the heart is cleansed towards our ultimate goal, prema, love of God. So we may not be manifesting that love of God now in one sense. If we can do that, if we can dedicate ourselves. So devotees like Kadambakana Maharaj, Jayananda Prabhu, or many, many others who dedicated their lives, you can see how Krishna reciprocates. It's not an external thing, it's internal. We saw when Kadambakana Maharaj left his body, standing in front of him, how He was so peaceful. I was just now in Melbourne, and we were in the hospital with one devotee leaving their body, and chanting Hare Krishna the last few moments of their lives. And we were just thinking how amazing it is. For most people, death, for instance, is an unknown, whatever, subject. What happens is not just a sentiment, but 20 devotees all stood around chanting Hare Krishna. Giriraj, deity of Giriraj, is 6 inches away, looking at devotee. The devotee is getting tulsi garland, different garlands, and tulsi leaves, and charnamrita, and nishankapachas, and so many things, everywhere, all around. It's amazing how Krishna reciprocates with his devotees, those who dedicate. Such a fortunate way. Nobody else has that opportunity to leave their body. Part of our mission, our goal in life is at the time of death, we could say that we may not be able to remember, but the devotees do. The devotees make it there, you could say, the mercy of Krishna personified it, and to help the devotee to remember Krishna at the time of death. It's very grateful. Krishna reciprocates. Again and again we see this, how devotees at the time of leaving their body, that Krishna somehow or other sends devotees along, or something special happens. Anything else? Time to finish. It's arti time anyway. But one last thing. Anything else? Comments, questions, concerns? Prabhu.
As we render service, I think what very important aspect is to care for the devotees who are presently serving. We are also preaching outside, but I think we have to care for those who are presently serving as well,
Thank
not
you.
to neglect whatever they are.
Thank you very much. Yes, very important. And don't forget, that means caring for yourself as well. Not that we want to become selfish, but looking after one's own health and so on. But particularly as a society, devotee care, looking after devotees, elderly devotees. Everyone, if you live that long, everyone gets old. You don't know what it's like getting old until you get old. It's a great opportunity to. I see one devotee, I don't know if they're here, they're walking with a stick like this. Who is that? No, another devotee I saw coming in this morning with a stick and got 3 or 4 points on it. That wasn't you, was it? Pardon? She's not here at the moment?
This morning.
That's yourself? Okay. I couldn't see in the dark, but I saw them coming in, and one young devotee was helping them. I was amazed to see how devoted, and helping them get their shoes on and off and what have you. Little things go a long way. Caring for others, especially those who are in physical difficulty, etc. It also refers to spiritual difficulty. Whatever the difficulties are, we do what we can to help. We're not God. But at least that mood, that attitude of wanting to serve and caring for devotees more than anything is a very important subject matter. We don't think of it so much when we're young, but I think as the movement's now growing through generations, it's becoming obvious it's a very important subject. So it's up to you what you do here, but it would be nice to see some facility for elderly devotees or infirm devotees which can help them on that journey back to Godhead, especially if they've dedicated many years of service. It would be nice. course, looking out for the children, looking out for all devotees is important. And it's on all levels, it's not just when you're sick, but on all levels. Trying to encourage each other to go forward in Krishna consciousness. Try to understand the condition of another soul. We tend to see things from our own angle, but the other person may see it from a different angle. A little bit of consideration about how others see things, why they feel uncomfortable or fearful or anxiety or whatever it is. Maybe something we can do to help each other. And that concern is very dear to Krishna when we take care of the devotees. Anything else on that topic? Caring for devotees. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanandi.